All right, so I've never really made one of these like this, so I figured I'd do something a little bit different. I haven't been on in a while, and I hadn't really been active really as far as trading because the market had just been so bad. And I'm sure it's been good for somebody else, but it just wasn't good for me. So, anyways, um, I've been tracking some stocks, and I've seen that they've gone up, and it's been pretty good. Like I picked 7 stocks to track, and they all went up in a matter of like 7 days, which is kind of like what I'm kind of aiming for nowadays in my option plays. And so I think it's a good time to kind of get back in because things are starting to look really healthy. Whereas before everything was just like you're just getting eaten up no matter what you got in. And so that said, I think on my radar right now, let me think some things that I'm already in or that I've been watching, I guess you say, that are mid play. RRR, Red Rock Resorts, which is in Vegas. It's a casino. I had it target at 51.19. It hit that today. So that's in mid move right there. It just broke its high. I think it still could keep going up. It might stall for a day or two, maybe 3 or 4, and then keep going and break that high again before it comes back down again, I think. Hopefully it'll break out and come back and try to find support at that 51.19 area, which is what I think is going to happen. And then the next one would be what is it? Billy, which is, it's like my favorite. So Billy, I think, is probably about mid move too. Like it's right now, it's kind of red and coming down. If it can hold out without closing beneath the previous low, like right now it's pretty low right now, but it's still higher than where I had started watching it at. So if it can still hold out in that area and show like a positive rebound to close back above this last red candle that we've made, I think that it's going to run back up to about 29, because the last one was a spike up to 31 just to dump down. Like they literally gapped it up to dump it down, and that typically is it's a move to run down to try to break that high, right? It's a move because they're saying we don't have the momentum to get up there, but it had enough to get to this area. It just needs to regather some liquidity at the bottom here and make another run back up. So I think Billy should try to make it back to like the mid 20s, maybe 29, and then you probably see it dump and stagnate in the 16 or in the teens for a little bit before it tries to come back up again. You're good for 3 runs into the 20s on Billy, I think, when it breaks out. And so then now some that are new, the metal company. The metal company is, I saw on Y-Files actually. They're picking up nodules off the bottom of the seafloor, which as soon as I saw it, it caught my attention. And of Y-Files of all things, like I never thought I would get find a stock based off of something I saw on Y-Files, but it was a really good coverage on it. And so this company teamed up with All Seas, which is a deep sea mining company that's been around for a while, and they produced a machine that is attached to a boat that has hoses that is basically like a vacuum that sucks up the deep sea modules off the bottom of the seafloor, which I find is fascinating because these nodules are a combination of like 4 or 5 different metals. I believe it's, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's let's see, magnesium, copper, I want to say aluminum, and let's see, maybe zinc. I don't know, but just check it out. Anyways, these metals somehow are attracted to each other and they clump together and over on the bottom of the seafloor, and over hundreds of millions of years they might gather, I think it's like 1/18 of a centimeter in diameter. And so these nodules are super old, and they're literally piled across the bottom of the seafloor. I think just covering it, littering the bottom of the seafloor. And so this is what's fascinating about this company, is that the metal company hasn't really produced anything. It hasn't done anything since 2021, like when it first opened or got on the stock market. It did nothing. It's been negative every earnings. And then within the last month, they got approved to do the deep sea mining. So sometime in the last 6 months or a year, they've been working on building this machine that gathers the nodules, and off the bottom of the seafloor. And they got permission to from the United States to gather the resources off this area. It's in Tonga. It's I couldn't really tell you. It's somewhere between South America and Africa, I think. Now, these nodules are everywhere, but this is just one area that they've gotten approved on, that they've done samples on, or sample surveys on, and they're saying that there's easily 500 million tons of resources down there still. And they're not in full production mode. They're literally just ramping up and getting things going, like testing the boat and the machines and the new invention to suck up all the stuff off the seafloor. All that stuff is all prototyped, and they've been testing it out and showing that it actually works, and sending it out to all their, I guess, their shareholders and all the different companies, and promoting themselves, saying, hey, look, we can gather these resources easily. We need companies to process these resources. And so they teamed up with, I think, a Japanese company, Cam something, I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry, I'm in between breaks, but I just kind of want to get this out there. You can do your own research. But anyways, with just the one company that's processing the materials, it would take them 50 years to process the sample that they already have. Now, when I say sample, I'm kind of like playing it down. They've got 1.65 billion tons of these nodes already. They're not even in production mode. And to be honest with you, I don't think that they're in a rush to be in production mode, because again, it would take them 50 years to process the 1.65 billion tons that they have in these nodules already. And that means they're worthless. The stuff that they have is worthless until somebody processes it, refines it, you know what I mean? And so when you think about this, these nodules with these 5 different metals in it, or 4 metals, whatever it is that's in them, you would have to have a mine, like on the surface, you would have to have a mine for each one of these metals. And that would involve having thousands of people and infrastructure and storage and processing and hospitals and food and just housing, all this stuff. It's just a massive ordeal. But on the seafloor, yeah, look, we don't know what's going to happen if you take these nodules off the bottom of the seafloor. I get it. But the thing is that greed will always win, right? So it's going to happen. So it doesn't really matter whether it's neither here nor there whether it's going to destroy the world or not. I'm with you on it. But somebody's going to mine them up, because they're not just going to leave them down there. So that said, regardless of that fact, they're everywhere. We have it in our own waters in the United States. They're everywhere. Now that they found these, it's huge. And so just off of what they've got, every time that they sign another company to process their materials, that is whatever resources have been processed is what adds to the value of the stock. And so right now, so let me just back up. I'm kind of all over the place on this because it's a lot of information. So TMC was like $220 something. It went up to $4 and something, $4.27 or something like that in a month. Since they've got signed permission from the United States to gather these resources. So there's still another agency they got to get the red tape through, to cut through all that just to be able to actually go out and go in production mode, to actually gather these resources on a daily basis, right? But again, I don't think they're in a big rush on that part of it. I think they're really stepping up on trying to find other companies to help process these resources. And so case in point, Monday, which was the 13th, I believe, they posted that, hey, maybe it wasn't, it's the 16th? What's today? Anyways, Monday, they posted that they had a Korean company that was going to process materials, and they sent a sample size over to them to process. And part of the contract with them was that they were guaranteeing to buy X amount of shares at $7 per share, which puts it almost $2.50 more than what it was sitting at. And then they'll get X amount of shares in return for buying those shares at $7. So basically what they're saying is that they're saying, hey, this stock is worth $7 per share now because we're processing these materials. And every time you process the materials, that puts value on it because then you can actually sell the materials. And so that's the double-edged sword on the whole stock, is that you've got all these resources, 1.65 billion tons of this stuff, but it's not worth anything unless you can process it. You can put a value on it, but they don't want to do that. They want to process it and sell it and get the whole amount of it. Because here's what's happening. You got 1.65 billion tons of these resources, and if you put that towards the average price of what it would be per nodule, on average would be somewhere around like $5. That's like $500. I'm sorry, it's $500 per nodule. That's $500 billion in just the resources they have without actually going into production mode. So you see where I'm getting at? Like, that's massive. They only have, so as a company, they only have 372,000 shares outstanding, give or take. So when you divide that into what you've got, like when they signed with North Korea, it jumped the price up $2.50. So imagine, like, and it's not always going to be the same, but imagine if they ran the same kind of deal each time, every time they signed somebody, it would jump the price up $2.50. Well, if it takes 50 years to process all the materials with what they have right now, they would need 50 deals, 50 contracts in order to get everything done within a year. And that's kind of like what you want. You want to get the profits as fast as possible, right? So they're probably in like, overdrive on trying to find companies to help process materials, because every time that's just going to bump up their stock value, which is going to put more money in their pocket, which is going to help them do more R&D, which is going to help them sign more deals. It's going to help them, process the materials, gather more resources, get more contracts signed, get government funding, which I think they already have government funding on one point of it or something like that. But Trump's huge on it. And so these are, and again, I'm rambling, I'm going all over the place, but you know what, I'm on my break, and I figured I'd go ahead and get you caught up on it. This thing is huge, I'm telling you right now. I told my son to get in on it. And it jumped up immediately. And, it's already hit $7 a day. And so 2 days ago it said, or 3 days ago it said that, they had this deal with them, and I said, look, this thing's gonna go up to $7, watch it. Boom, it hit at $7, sold my option call, kept my shares because I bought them at $4.27. And, I made $150 on the option call, and I've still got my shares. And so now I'm just waiting for it to dip down again, and I'll probably buy another option call and sit on that, because I guarantee, I can almost tell you that they're probably going to sign a new company once every week, once every 2 weeks, even if it's just once every month. It's going to happen. And if it falls in that kind of spectrum, then I'm going to be able to play option calls on it. Every time it dips down 50 cents or something like that, I'll jump in and ride it and wait for them to release some news or something like that. I can feel it. I'm telling you, that's how this thing is going to go down. They're spending their time on trying to find people to process these materials, because they're sitting on a gold mine. And the stock potentially could be hundreds of thousands of dollars per share if they process all the materials. And then that's not even saying like when they go into full production mode and they start gathering stuff too, So anyways, that's my take on that. So now that I've talked your ear to death on that, let's go on to Sedg. Sedg had a massive drop, like $8 drop or something like that. And it just looks so sweet. I got these new indicators I created. I'll try to post pictures that helps me gauge. Like, I'm so much better than I was before when I took this break, because it just gave me time to kind of like erase all the stuff that I was hopped up on, which is over polluting my mind with like things, and then with the drop, and you just can't read the market that way. But now I've got this indicator that basically shows me like a threshold, and whenever it punctures the threshold, it'll almost rebound out. And so imagine like if you took a basketball and you're in a pool and you shove it underwater and then you let go of it all completely, it just shoots out of the water, into the air. That's basically what's happening with this. When you have that threshold, the threshold is like the water, and when the stock plunges down and you see it break these lines make these like, they almost fold like an A frame on it. They go, the line's like flat like this where the floor is, and then it just breaks it straight down. Whenever you see that, and then you see it rebound back up, that it's gonna go, it's gonna go. And because if it's just dropping, there's a certain way you can read it, but you look at it and it's just too much to talk about right now. But anyways, when it's dropping, it's just a casual floor shift, right? But when it breaks it and then it comes back up and resurfaces above that level, and it looks strong, then it's gonna go. And that's what I've been watching on those 6 and 7 I was talking about when I first started looking at the market. That's how I looked at it. I was looking at the market just solely on that, which is completely different than the way I've been looking at it before. And it's 6 of the 7 have been good, in the greens. And so Sedg looks really strong. The joint, JYNT, looks really strong where it's at. The one I'm in on right now, so I sold the metal company one. Only had it for a couple days, made $150. Nothing crazy. It's just one option call though. So I'm telling you in that because you can kind of wrap your brain around, okay, well, if you can get one option call on the metal company for $40, then I make $150 in 2 days or 3 days, then, you know what I mean? Scale up. And so then the other is the Love Sack. The Love Sack looks so good. I look at the Love Sack and I start drooling. Literally have to wipe my mouth. I mean, it looks so good. And it had also a big drop, and you can see where it was holding compared to where it was to the left of its chart. Solid rebound, solid candles coming after it, a couple days after it, all holding strong. So I just waited for a solid pullback into that last strong candle where it left a wick all the way down, coming back up to breaking even. Then it continuing, once it left that wick, retracing that whole candle, and then it's soaking all the way back up to the top and it started going green. That's when I got in. And then I got to the option play, and I started looking at the option play, and I waited for your bid and your ask to get within $10 of each other, because whenever it does that, you can see that it's building like a base, and then you just jump in the middle, and you pretty much get in instantly at a gain. Whereas before, where I was getting in, I would just jump in all willy-nilly and I'd be negative for a couple days. So this kind of foregoes all that. So anyways, good things coming, I'm telling you. I like the way the market looks and feels right now. Definitely get you a piece, take a look at it, and stay tuned, and I'll start trying to make more posts like this. I've got probably 10 or 12 charts I've already pre-plotted on where I want the market to go before I get in, and so I'm just waiting for them to all hit that spot, and then once they do, then I'll probably play them. But right now, Love Sack is the one I'm in. I'll probably be in it until Monday or Tuesday, and then I'll probably pull the plug on. I didn't really want to sit overnight in it, but I don't want to hit. I don't have 25 grand in my account, so I don't want to hit the what is it called when you overtrade, day trading pattern day trader rule. So I'm sitting on my 4th one now, so I can't really close it, but I don't really, the way Love Sack looks, I think it's going to go to about $22, but I don't think it's going to be so straightforward. I think it's going to go up and then pull back, and it's going to go up and it's going to pull back, and it's going to go up and it's going to pull back until it gets there, and it might even stop short before it gets there, and then pull back again, about halfway, and then try to rocket ship it up over it, which is what, if you look at RRR, which Red Rock Casinos or Red Rock Resorts, you'll see that exactly what I'm talking about. It did the exact same thing. So, all right, I can't wait for it, and happy trading. I'll see you on the next one.